Don't move it.
All right.
Welcome. We are grateful that you're here with us today. We do hope that you find some direction and hope in dealing with the different types of discomfort you might be experiencing in your life and how to discover the next direction that you can find for yourself. We're so excited about that for you all.
We it's been interesting in our family, looking around for me to see just how many things have changed in the last 6 months. And you know, we've had weddings that have been impacted, trips, educational experiences. I know people personally whose careers are just huge question marks on what's going to happen with their jobs and their careers. And then so much pressure and on relationships and how people are interacting with each other, not only in our own communities, but nationwide and worldwide. And one of our favorites is this binge watching, binge eating thing that's going on. I was shocked. 10 million new Netflix subscribers just in the last quarter. So people are finding ways of dealing with discomfort that whatever works for you. But it's just, you know, it's all around us. We're all being impacted, especially these days.
I wonder if they sold 10 million more packages of M&Ms too. I don't know.
Or popcorn, maybe a
Go with the movie.
Yeah. So when I was serving as a missionary for my church in Central America, this was back in the days before Facebook, before social media, before any of that kind of thing. And we actually went out and knocked on doors and stopped people on the street and talked to them. And I was so fired up to share my message with people and to make sure that they had the opportunity to hear it. And we were out contacting one day, and I was just getting really, really frustrated because I would stop people and I'd give them the approach, and then they would just like, you know, brush me off. And so then that really cranked me up more. And I was just like, oh, well, no, you need to hear this. And so it just kind of escalated, and I kept pushing harder and harder. And it seemed like people got more and more upset with me to the point where the other person that I was working with said, well, actually, I got to the point where there was this one man, he came out and he was walking along the street with his little granddaughter. And I thought, oh, here's a nice family guy. I'll go talk to them. So I got up there, kind of stopped right in front of him and gave him my pitch. And he was brushing me off. And I thought, no, I am going to talk to you. And so I kept pushing back. He kept pushing back. And finally, he reached into under his coat and pulled out a gun and pointed it at my head and said, I'm not interested. And I said, okay, I understand.
Bye, have a nice day.
So the other person that I was working with pulled me aside and he goes, you know, here's something for you to think about. What you're doing is you're stopping people. You're getting right in front of them and getting in their face. And when you push, they push. And it's just like pushing and pushing and more resistance. And he said, what you should try is getting in step with the person. So instead of stopping in front of them, walk along beside them and get in step with them and get in that flow and get into the, you know, the feeling and the spirit of what they're feeling. And maybe you'll have more success with that. And, you know, I tried it and it made a world of difference. It was just amazing rather than confronting them. So
I bet you feel a lot better too.
Oh, I felt a lot better. Yeah. And even when they said no, it was actually a much better experience for everybody involved. So what I discovered in this was that resistance intensifies because it's kind of this push. And when you're resisting, it just gets more and more intense and escalated. So I came home, got into my normal life, and went through a lot of years. And then I got to a point in life where I had some really painful things going on, and some big challenges, and that there was a lot of resistance on my part to even want to deal with those things. Specifically, there was a point where on the business side, I had some big plans and some big dreams that I was working on, a new business with some partners. And at one point, the partner just turned around, basically shafted me completely, took the entire business and left me with nothing. It was a devastating experience for me. And I was so angry and so upset and so hurt by that whole experience that I couldn't let it go. Every time I thought about it, it would trigger me and put me into that dark place again. And it was painful. It was really painful. And the image that I kind of had for that was this really battered up, ugly door, right? And behind that door was all of that pain and all that anguish. And I didn't even want to go there. I was just pushing against even dealing with that. And you can see there's a lock on that door. And it was like, I just lock it away and get it out of my mind.
Get
But
going with life, huh?
yeah, and try to go on with life. But you know what? You can't. Because there are things that will trigger, there are things that will remind you, and it's just they're always pushing and reminding you. And what I found, I had, just like when I was out on contacting on the street many years before that, I had a mentor who said, Mark, you know what? You're pushing against it and it's just getting worse and worse. It's intensifying. And I had this click in my mind like, oh my goodness, resistance intensifies. And he said, try moving into it, try moving with it and see if you get some results that way.
So kind of like allowing the pain to come through you, and you open that door and just like it pushes all over the place, but then you deal with it.
Yeah, you open it up and you walk into it and you embrace it, and you actually yet you walk through that door and walk into it.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than resisting it, and it's so counterintuitive. Everything in our human makeup says resist it, get away from that, that's painful, don't go near that. And it's super counterintuitive. But if you actually can push into it and push through it, we find that pain becomes a portal to amazing insights, understandings about our own gifts, understandings about the purpose for those experiences. And there's always a message in that pain if we walk into it and walk through it. It's amazing to me when I've gone through these experiences and I've listened, there's always a message that's personal and that's deep and that's life-changing.
Hey, you know what? I'm going to just interject.
Okay.
I thought as you were saying this, I was thinking about an experience I had sitting in a doctor's office once and picking up a book on meditation, and was when I was expecting one of my children, and he believed in trying to make your labor and delivery as natural as possible. And they suggested using waves. So the wave comes in and then the wave moves out, and that the wave is like pain, and you move in, the pain moves in, and it has this big climax, and then it pushes out again. And so they suggested, like with labor and delivery, that you actually utilize that. So instead of pushing trying to resist against that pain that's coming closer and closer, you kind of breathe it in like a wave, and then you let it move out. And so that's another way of kind of looking at this is, you can move with the pain. And then when you do that, then it does create an opportunity to utilize that pain to create some amazing results. In the case of having a baby, it would be one, but there are other amazing results that can happen as well.
Absolutely. So we had talked previously about the cycle of pain, the stuck in the story cycle. And so you have this painful experience, and that creates the resistance. And I call that the grr, where you're pushing against it and you're just resisting it. And then once you get past that, then you get into the blah, blah, blah stage where we make up a story, we make up a justification for it, and we tell that story over and over again. And we get stuck in this cycle. Every time we're reminded of something about that, then we get back into the resistance and we get back into being stuck in the story. So the question is, how do I get out of this cycle? How do I break free of being stuck in this story and being stuck in this painful experience? The trick is right here, right after the ouch. We're always going to have something that triggers us. There will frequently be things that will recreate that painful memory. But the trick is to, at that point, step back and do what I call become the observer. So you're triggered, and rather than immediately resisting, you move into it and you say, that's really interesting. I'm going to become, and I kind of picture myself putting on my safari hat and getting out my binoculars and going, what's going on here? It's interesting that I'm so angry. I'm so frustrated with this person or this experience or this memory. What's happening there? And by observing and then listening for an answer, we often find a message for us in that pain. Now, I mentioned this this partner that did really stuck it to me in business. I was so angry and so frustrated, but I came to this point where I said, I can't keep living this way. I can't keep reliving this story and the anger and the pain and the why did he and what if I could have, and just telling the story over and over again. And I came to the point of understanding when I got triggered one time, I remember just stopping and stepping back and saying, what's going on here? Why am I reacting this way? What's happening? And when I moved into that pain, and when I said, there's got to be an answer here for me, there must be a message. I very distinctly remember experienced this insight of, well, he's in pain as well. He's afraid. He is protecting himself, and that's the only way he knows how to do it. That's the level that he's at. And it was just this amazing realization that, oh my word, he was doing the best he could with the best he had. And that's the only way he knew how to treat people, was to grab and go, essentially. And it totally changed my world. It totally changed my outlook. I got out of the story. And then every time I thought about it afterward, I just thought, oh, well, he's at a level where that's all he knows how to do. And I can forgive him for that and move on with my life and do what I need to do. So
you just kind of let go of him and his issues, and then you let go of yourself and your issues.
yes,
Right. And you're like,
yeah.
okay, so when I do this, it's more like me thinking of myself as my own psychologist. So there's me that's in the experience, and then there's me that's watching it all. And so I pull back and I watch it all, and I'm like, gotta thing. And then I kind of pull out all the players in it, and then I'll think, okay, what is the pain that I'm experiencing here? And many times I won't know that pain until I do this observation technique. And then when I stop and sometimes I have to take a few breaths and really get myself centered. And it's not just like, oh yeah, we're now taking care of this pain, because
Right.
pain is pain, and the body doesn't really recognize different kinds of pain. It just says you're in pain, and so we've got to do something for you, and that's what happens to all of us.
Absolutely.
So we can pull ourselves up, but this is one of the ways that has worked really well for Mark to pull out of that, is to get rid of the story cycle by recognizing it and observing it. And then maybe you won't feel any different about that person. Maybe it will be a willingness to consider it, but you can feel better about you and where you are in that situation.
And the insights that come will really be helpful. And to Cynthia's point, this is like so counterintuitive. Everything in our makeup says, well, just stay in this cycle, resist it, push away. And so taking this step, it takes a lot of courage, and it takes a lot of effort, and things that we can do to support ourselves in that. with breathing and with meditation and with good
Affirmations.
diet and smelling the oils, and all of those things
Mhm.
help to take us on this journey that is into unknown territory for most of us. The other thing that I found myself doing was I was going through this thing is you talk about sleepless nights. I was having so many sleepless nights. I would wake up with just, fear or anger or whatever, and not be able to sleep and worried about money and my family. I mean, just so many things. And so sleep difficulties are part of this. And again, we can support ourselves by doing things that are going to help us get better sleep. And Cynthia's got some ideas to share with us on that.
So we're going to talk a little bit about different ways that the body responds to these kinds of fight, flight, or fear, situations. For fear, fight, flight, or freeze. And then also for women, it's talk. So we have these 3 ways plus 1 that we try to move out of a situation that is so difficult for us that we can't deal with it. And so, we can wake up in the middle of the night with racing thoughts, and a lot of times our bodies, and it tends to be more women than men, our bodies will have some kind of a pain that arrives in the body, and we don't know what it is or why we have it. But we can even use that as an opportunity to open one of these pain portals and have a discussion with us. So we're going to talk a little bit about sleep difficulties and what they're looking like right now. Now, all of this information that we're sharing with you comes from psychologists, it comes from medical professionals and other professionals in the fields. And so we aren't just thinking this up.
Right,
We want you to understand that this has really been, something we've learned, but it's come from people that have spent many, many years following these ideas and discovering ways that can help all of us to have healthier lives and outcomes. So one of the things that we have is an opportunity to use essential oils to work with our sleep difficulties. And right now, Doterra for the month of October, well, no, all of the months, but they just came out with some little packages. And each package has programs basically in it, in the oil situation that they've created together. And you can use those oils within that for helping with certain ways that the body responds to specifically anxiousness and these distressful feelings that we experience. And one of those is sleep difficulties and sleep troubles. These are some of the statistics that are pretty amazing, actually. But 50 to 70 million US adults, if we have 333 million people, that's a lot of people in the US that are dealing with some kind of a sleep difficulty, right? They're not getting enough sleep, they can't sleep well, they wake up in the middle of the night, they have, all sorts of things are happening. And look how many people are falling asleep during the day. That's a third of the people are like barely making it through a day. And then we have people like Mark, who was actually falling asleep while driving. And then we have insomnia and other difficulty that people are having, and, I was one of those. I spent like five or 6 years where I would wake up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning and knew I had to be up by 6:30 every day. And I'd lose that sleep from 3:30 or 4 o'clock every day. And it was really, really wearing me down. And then we have, 3 to 5%. We've got this a group of people that are overeating, and maybe it's us right now in the middle of all these additional stressful things that are happening in the world right now. But they all add to sleep troubles too. So, overeating makes us feel less able to sleep, and it also can be a result of not getting any sleep. So it's kind of interesting what we have as our sleep difficulties that are showing up in so much, so many people's lives. And what can we do about this? Well, there are some things that we always can do. We can take lifelong vitality, we can drink a lot of water, we can do our exercise, but we can also do these mindful techniques that we're talking about now. And we can also use disruptors like essential oils that will help our bodies start to respond the way we want them to. Because when we start to let go of stories in our lives that have caused us pain, and we're not experiencing the pain from that anymore, the body still has its patterns that it's made as a result of us having those painful experiences. And one of those is the sleep deprivation problems that we might be experiencing. And so we have to retrain the mind, the mindset, so that we can move into a place where we can get restful sleep. And so there are a lot of things that we can do. And this is a very simplistic thing that we're going to talk to about tonight, about what we can do in order to change that for us. One of them was we can use this mood kit. This is the number 2. We talked about the number 1 before. And in this one, we have the calming blend, which is fantastic in the middle of the night. You can put it on your temples. You can put it on your arms, great upload places. You can smell it. You can actually take an internal one, which we talked about last month. And then you also, if you have this anxiousness, smell a little bit of wild orange in the middle of the night, or have it going in your diffuser. Mark has wild orange going all the time in his office because it's a great disruptor for him. Black spruce is one of the great oils that is in balance, and it has been used for centuries in the Indian cultures, the American Indian cultures, because of its ability to ground. And so it's a great one. Lavender helps a lot of people to kind of reduce the spikes in the brain wave activity so that it can smooth those out. There are a lot of studies that discuss that. And the one that we don't have, and you can even get up and have a bath and put some of these wonderful oils in it and just get some relaxation going. And then take some deep breaths, give yourself a chance to really breathe in and let it go. But let it go gently, because if we don't, then the body tenses up again. So everything we're trying to do is release that tension that's been caused as a result of having these pain portals closed for so long. And now we're going to open them up, which sounds like a Pandora's box. We're going to let it go. We're going to actually let it leave. And we're going to do that by recognizing it and observing it. And an added support would be the Serenity Restful Complex. Now, I have used these very successfully. They have 2 of my favorites in them, which are sandalwood and vetiver. And I was using those before to help myself rest. I didn't realize I had such racing thoughts, but I did. And as soon as I started using vetiver, man, my brain would just turn right off when I'd go to bed. And I used to meditate, which is awesome, every night for a significant amount of time still before I could go to sleep. But then I would go into a really restful sleep. And but now I can literally lie down, take these things, take a couple of nice deep breaths and be asleep. And if I have a bad night, then I add a meditation to it. If my body's still in a stressful state or a state of anxiousness, I can do that as well. So the next thing, and if you aren't sure about how to use that, you can contact me. I can explain where you put it on some reflex points that you use for acupressure to really get into the sleep center areas so that your body can rest. We have the real obstacles, right? And in our life, and we have real challenges, and sometimes they're caused by these things that we deal with, and sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're just outside of any challenges that we have in life, like who knew COVID? And there is no need to add to them by making up obstacles of our own. So we can release ourselves from those things, and we can use the disruptors that we have and the tools that maybe you've just heard about today, and that you'll try that. You'll try to observe yourself and see what's happening, and then listen to the answer that comes. Listen to the results. You can hear that other voice, and if you are carrying pain in your shoulder all the time, put your hand on your shoulder and say, what's your message to me? Now that might sound a little bit silly or maybe kind of woo-woo out there, but let your mind and body work together and see the messages, and they're always wonderful messages, which is really interesting. It's not like, oh, you are so bad. It's really stuff like, you're carrying a lot of burden, or you're a wonderful person, and there'll be a message that's really, really meant for you in all of that, which is fantastic. And you can enchain yourself from the bondage of your own thinking and allow these deeper messages that are really you, the real you, can show up, and those other messages will kind of like part, and you'll be able to walk through those portals.
The other thing is when you have those experiences, trust those insights.
Yeah.
Because they are for you. And a lot of people, even if they go to the point of maybe asking the question or seeking that insight, then they'll doubt. They'll say, oh, well, that was just in my head, or that was just some wacky thought or whatever. Listen and trust, because those are messages for you that will really give you great insights. So we hope this has been helpful today. We've talked about some ways here of finding hope, how to cope, and how to find hope in the middle of all of this discomfort that seems to be coming at us faster and faster. So we hope that it will help discover those messages that are waiting inside that portal. But we have to open the door, and we have to do what seems totally counterintuitive and walk through that door and into that pain.
Observe, listen.
And listen, and those messages will be there for us and really make a huge difference in how we can deal with it. Get the sleep and use some of these other methods that we've talked about. And we found just tremendous results and help with that.
And you will be able to cope better, and you will have more hope, and the people around you will sense that, and they'll feel the grounding that you have. And finally, you can read the book. We go through a little bit of pieces and parts that are in this book, and we talk about it. And then we also have workbooks that are available that you can utilize and create a pattern for yourself, so you have a daily pattern and accountability for yourself. And shortly, those will also be available in an app form. So you have audio book, and then the video, I mean, not video, but you have the Amazon Kindle, and then Amazon the book. And we hope that you'll take that opportunity to find that finest self in you, to find your better person, to empower yourself, and to be able to let go of all those things, those chains and those messages that are bringing you down, and allow yourself the most freedom that you've ever felt, and have the best next 30 years.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We just are so appreciative, and we hope that you have a wonderful week. Next week, we'll catch you from Jackson Hole.